Right, so what we are talking about today, and I've got new content that I haven't talked about with with the girls in my membership or anything. So, and it's from a live that or a Q&A that I tuned into for Dr. Mindy this morning, which was really so good. So, what we're going to talk about 4 key tips on how to make fasting easier. Signs that you're burning fat, isn't that the aim of the game? We're going to talk about the benefits of fasting at the different fasting lengths. I'm just going to go over there pretty quickly. And awesome, thanks Phoebe. And why we need to fast differently from men. And then I'm going to have a bit of a quick chat to you about the weight loss drugs that everybody is talking about, what you need to be aware of if you're considering them, and just some insights that Dr. Mindy shared with us this morning as Fast Like a Girl coaches. So it's really interesting. So to start off with, the 4 tips on how to make fasting easier. The whole aim of the game is to stabilize your blood sugars. So we want as little highs and lows of your blood sugars as possible. And so we talked about this briefly last night, but if you've got high blood sugars and low blood sugars, so you're eating high glycemic foods, then fasting is going to be very difficult. When you stabilize your blood sugars, then you're going to have more stabilized moods. You're going to sleep better. You're going to have more stabilized energy. Your cravings are going to be reduced. And it's just so much easier to eat a healthier diet when you've got stabilized blood sugars. So 3 parts to stabilizing blood sugars. You need to up your healthy fats. You may have grown up in the area that I grew up in, and fats were the enemy. High fat were the enemy. And so went low fat, light everything. And this actually is not the case. We're talking about healthy fats. So we are talking about avocado, nuts and seeds. You know, just in moderation, because they do have a high fat content, but they are so good for stabilizing our blood sugars. So we're also talking about the good oils that we spoke about last night. And getting rid of those bad oils, grass-fed dairy is a good option. We want to increase protein. You may have heard, I'm sure you've heard, that protein is the hero macro. And yes, it is. Protein is so important, because what protein does is it stabilizes. It keeps us full for longer. It builds. Yesterday we talked about insulin receptor sites. We talked about insulin. So our cells have got insulin receptor sites on them. So the more insulin receptor sites we've got on our cells, the more insulin that can be transported into the cells, right? If you have got muscle, then that builds insulin. The more muscle you've got, the more insulin receptor sites. So protein builds muscle. So does strength training. And I'm going to talk about exercise and fasting and strength training tomorrow. So the more muscle, the more insulin receptor sites, the more protein, the more that you're going to build that muscle, increase that muscle. Okay? So protein is actually really important. And it also kills the hunger hormone, which is fantastic. We all know different forms of protein. And then we want to ditch the refined carbs, because refined carbs, like your processed flours and your processed pastas and sugars and takeaways, the things that we spoke about last night, they make it very hard to sustain a fasting lifestyle, or to stabilize your blood sugars. So you absolutely want to. That is number 1. Number 2 is eat for your microbes and not your taste buds. When you eat a meal, I want you to think about, what does my body need, not what do I feel like, because often those can be very unaligning. Every meal, and I know this sounds anal, okay, I'm going to say 95% of the time, I think about, what does my body, what can I put together for this meal that is going to nourish my body, rather than, generally I love everything that I eat anyway, but I'm always thinking about my health. So I want you to really think about that. Our microbes are what is in our gut, the bacteria in our gut. And we need a huge variety of a diet because that feeds the different microbes in the gut. And fermented foods, I'm going to talk about this with the weight loss drugs. Fermented foods are really, really good for supporting a great microbiome no, that's a big word. The diversity of your microbes in your gut. So that is your kimchi, your sauerkraut, your kombucha, miso, tempeh, kefir, loads of different ways that you can get fermented foods into your diet. The other thing that is really good for feeding your microbes is fasting. So I'm going to talk about that shortly. Okay, I'm now onto my next page. The number 3 is the first meal matters. Hands down, first meal matters. And as I talked about yesterday, I was like, breakfast is the most important meal of the day. That has changed. The first meal of the day has not changed, right? So what you have for that meal indicates what your blood sugars are going to do. What that needs to look like is it needs to be savory. If you can do it savory, then that is absolutely ideal. So eggs, avocado, spinach, grainy toast if you're having a low carb toast if you can. And then you might have like a smoothie, but put more vegetables in it and avocado than fruit because that's going to stabilize. Put some protein powder in it. Protein at that first meal is ideal. Protein, healthy fats, fiber, so your veggies and your salads. I know that you might do leftovers. Leftovers are really good for that first meal because if you have a high glycemic meal, you're going to shoot up, for the first thing, you're going to shoot up your blood sugars. Insulin is going to be released and it'll see that your body will need to release quite a bit of insulin to transport it into the cells. So therefore, if you've got too much insulin, then you're going to crash. And then you will be on this constant roller coaster throughout the day. Stabilize, have that first meal of the day is protein, healthy fats, fiber, veggies. It is going to stabilize. And a really good way to understand how that looks is to use a CGM, but I'm going to talk about that in a moment. So then tip number 4 is to tap into a fasted snack. If you are fasting and you are struggling, research shows that there are certain snacks that you can have that won't pull you out of a fast. And research shows that people who break their fast because they can't go any longer, or as compared to people who have a fasted snack, which I'll share with you what they are, and prolong their fast for 2 to 3 hours, get the beneficial gains from fasting than those that break their fast. Okay, so that's a really valuable. It's if you don't need to tap into a fasted snack, then don't. But if you need it, and if it's a point of breaking your fast or extending, then absolutely lean in on a fasted snack until you get more metabolically healthy in terms of switching. So a fasted snack looks like half an avocado, a small avocado, because it's pure fat. A fasted snack needs to be pure fat, or less than 20 grams of protein. Some olives in really good quality olive oil. You've got MCT oil. You can just have a tablespoon or a teaspoon. Start slowly if you're not used to it. It can also put it into your hot drinks. A teaspoon of nut butter. Almond butter, cashew butter is better than peanut butter. But those are the sort. A cup of bone broth. If you've got good quality bone broth, that won't pull you out of a fast, but it'll just allow you to extend your fast. Okay, so those are the 4 tips that I have that are to help you get, better at fasting. Next, how do you know if it's working? So there are some readers that you can get, but this is I do teach this in my membership. It is kind of not something I would encourage for a 13 to a 15 hour fast. But if you want to get into longer fasts, then getting a blood sugar reader and a ketone reader, which tells you when you've switched over into your fat burning mode, is really motivating. It is incredibly motivating. And you can buy them just from like Chemist Warehouse, and you do need to get different strips. Or you can get a continuous glucose monitor. I am going to share some symptoms with you, so stay with me here. A continuous glucose monitor is something that you can get for 2 weeks, and it measures your blood sugars continuously. So from the moment I wake up to the moment I go to sleep and overnight, I can know exactly what my blood sugars are doing, the effect that stress is having on me, the effect that exercise is having on me, but especially the food and drinks, and what will pull me out of a fast and what doesn't, and what shoots up my blood sugars, certain foods that I think might be okay and they're not, how quickly my blood sugar levels come back indicates how metabolically healthy that you are. Now, if you are looking for symptoms just without having this, because this is not an everyday thing, it's not, they're getting a bit easier to get in New Zealand, but there is an expense to them, again, with the readers and the different things that I've talked about. Key signs in your body that you are switching over into the fat burning mode is that your hunger will go away. Remember yesterday I said when you are burning ketones, then it sends a message to the brain to turn your hunger hormone off. And so if you have gone like this morning and you have been hungry and then all of a sudden it went away because you got busy, then that can be an indicator that you've switched over into the fat burning mode. You also get this buzz. You get like I haven't had breakfast, I haven't eaten today because I normally fast to around midday-ish each day. I do one day where I don't fast. It depends around exercise. I'll talk about that tomorrow. So I have this kind of buzz that I am excited, I feel on fire, and that is that I know that I am burning ketones, and I know that my body is burning fat as my fuel source. You'll get a surprising surge of energy. So, I feel quite excited. You have less of a reliance on caffeine to get you through. So that's really cool. And your cravings, your sugar cravings will reduce. So it's about tuning in, and that's where using the companion guide is really good because you can write down what you are feeling and what you're experiencing, and so then you can really tap into and be on top of because often you can kind of forget what the symptoms are and how you are feeling. So tracking them over the few days is really, really valuable. So I hope that has anybody noticed that for those of you that have fasted this morning, because I put a post in the group and I've seen some of you that have extended your fast, did you find it hard? Or was it easy? Did you notice that your hunger went away? Just type that in as I keep going. Now I'm going to share with you what are the different benefits at the different lengths of fast. And Dr. Mindy has developed 6 different fasting lengths. So I'm just going to go through those quickly. We are only focusing on intermittent fasting. For those of you who have had a little bit more experience, then you might be going to the 17 to 18 hour mark. But I just want you to know what is possible when you get into some longer fasts. So the first is intermittent fasting, and that is 13 to 15 hours. And that's when inflammation, you'll notice a reduction in inflammation, you'll slow down the aging, and you'll get improved energy and focus like we have discovered. With 17 hours, it's something that's called autophagy. So Dr. Mindy calls the 17 hour the autophagy fast. And at 17 hours is when autophagy starts happening. And what that means, autophagy means self-eating. And it means that your cells turn inside and they start repairing old cells and they get rid of rogue cells. It's quite phenomenal what the body does. And so it is such a great you'll be experiencing a detox reaction. So if you are getting any adverse symptoms to fasting, that is a detoxing happening in your body. And it's a good thing because your body is getting rid of toxins and cells that it doesn't need. So that you get that cellular repair and detoxing, balancing of the hormones, and improved immune function. At 24 hours, Dr. Mindy calls this the gut reset. And this is when your microbes, if you're wanting to improve the microbes in your gut, work your way towards a 24-hour fast, because a 24-hour fast is known, research shows that the good bacteria in the gut are replaced better than a course of probiotics or from the use of antibiotics and being on birth control for years. And that's it, just 24 hours. I know that might seem a huge stretch at the moment. It initially did for me, but now like a 24-hour is like easy, right? So tap into, if you're wanting to change the microbes in your gut, then tap into the 24-hour fast. The fat burner reset is the 36-hour fast. So if you're really wanting to see weight loss results and really tapping into that stored fat, a 36-hour fast is proven. Research shows that is what the fast that really, really unsticks stubborn weight. So if you've been doing fasting and you haven't been getting the results, then throwing in a couple of 36-hour fasts is really beneficial. So it's where it taps into stored glucose, reduces insulin stores, and detoxification and increased fat burner. So that is, really, really good one to tap into. The 48-hour fast is called the dopamine reset. So if you're struggling with depression or just feeling low, what it does is it resets your dopamine receptor sites after 48 hours. And again, research shows that it doesn't necessarily happen straight away. It can happen 1 to 2 weeks even after the fast, you've done the fast. So if you are, you've got anxiety and you want, to reset and having that depression, sorry, just a call just started coming in, for depression, sorry, I'm just going to decline that. Hopefully they'll get the picture. Then a 48-hour fast. And then, when people, it might be the same with you. When your kids ring and you decline, it's actually my husband, you decline and then they just keep on ringing you. It's like they don't get the picture, but hopefully he has got the picture. So 72-hour, 3-day fast. As I said yesterday, never thought I could ever do a 3-day fast, and I did it, and it was so incredibly empowering. This is where you've got peak autophagy, but also you've got peak stem cell production. So people pay thousands of dollars for stem cell injections, and this is when your body, if you've got an injury, your body will find that injury and produce stem cells to heal that injury. And I had this with tennis elbow, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to tap into a 3-day fast, because I wanted to see if it healed my tennis elbow. And I'd had it for years and I had been doing everything I could, and after 3 days and it didn't happen straight away, it was more over the course of the next few weeks, my tennis elbow has gone away, and it hasn't come back. So that is, and Dr. Mindy has a fantastic story about healing an Achilles tendon that was injured. She did everything that she could do. She went into a 3-day fast, actually went into 5 days and healed it, and it's never come back. So if you've got an injury that you have struggled to heal, then a 3-day fast is definitely something that can definitely help you. Okay, I feel like this has been a lot of information. The last thing that I want to talk about, we're at 20 minutes, so I've got a few minutes up my sleeve. The last thing I want to talk about is the weight loss drugs. And you may have heard a lot about the weight loss drugs. They've been getting a lot of airtime. So we're talking about Ozempic, and there is another one called Wegovy, which those are the two that I have heard about. So Dr. Mindy has been talking a lot about them recently, and she did, as I said, I tapped into a Q&A that she did this morning. And the reason why weight loss drugs have got so much airtime is because they are super effective at getting you your results, and they get results really quickly. Now I'm just going to read this to make sure that I am getting it correctly, because it was new information to me, and I want to make sure that I'm sharing the correct information. So the reason why people are leaping to weight loss drugs is because it reduces the hunger, because it mimics the hormone called GLP-1, which is made by your microbes. That's why your microbes are so important. So the weight loss drugs, they help you feel full, and they turn down the noise on food. So if you are someone who is addicted to food, you think about food a lot, you've got cravings, there's a lot of food noise, that can highly be connected to the fact that you have not got the hormone GLP-1, which is the hormone that turns off your hunger. The reason why these weight loss drugs are working so well is because it turns off that hunger and you feel full. So I was working with a client last year, at the end of last year, and she was on the Wegovy, and she'd been on them for quite a few months, and eventually she got off it because she was not feeling that great on them. And she has been so successful in staying off the Wegovy and maintaining her weight loss results, because we address the underlying issue in her gut. So the reason why you're not producing the GLP-1 is because your microbes in your gut are out of balance. So and what Dr. Mindy shared this morning was that people who have been on these weight loss drugs, they're putting the weight back on 1 or 2 years later because they're not addressing the underlying issue of what is causing the imbalance in the gut. So hopefully that makes sense. This is the first time I've actually spoken about it, and I just thought it was so fascinating, and so many people are talking about the weight loss drugs. So to actually address the underlying issue, we need to be looking at the gut. And fasting, as we've heard about today, is so important and so effective at addressing the microbes in the gut. But it's also what you're eating in your eating window. So you're wanting to be leaning into bone broth, because that is really good for replacing the good bacteria in the gut. The fermented foods that I talked about. And what else did she say? Fasting. Those are basically getting your reducing the inflammation, getting the good foods into the microbe, and having a wide fiber. That was the other thing, and having a wide variety of diet, because that it feeds all the different microbes in the gut. Okay, I feel like I've waffled a little bit, but that just took me a little bit to get my head around to be able to share it with you. I would love to know, has this been a valuable session? What have been your biggest insights? And I will look forward, I'll send a replay out. I will look forward to seeing you tomorrow. We are talking about how to make your fasting rhythm you can keep. And this is probably one of the most important sessions to tune into, because it's pulling everything that we've talked about together. I'm also going to talk about exercise and fasting and building muscle and protein. I'm going to talk about HRT because there have been some questions around about that, and how to get around mental challenges that you come up against with fasting. So thanks again for joining me today. I love sharing this information because I just think it is so vital that we understand what's going in our body and on in our body and what we can do about, because lifestyle is absolutely number one. You can choose all different products to support, but if you haven't got your lifestyle dialed down, then you're going to really struggle. So I'll look forward to seeing you tomorrow, and please let me know what have been the biggest insights that you have taken from today's session. All right, see you later. Bye.